For today, we're going to be making a Motocross MX bike stand out of 80 thousandths aluminum sheet. Welcome to Dean's Fab Shop. All right, let's get started on this thing. First off, I like to make patterns of everything that I make. The pattern board I use, I get it at Lowe's, big box stores. It's some kind of, I don't know, underlayment, something used for walls, something. But it's like the perfect thickness to use for patterns for everything that I make here. So first off, what we're going to do, here's what I'm going to have. This is going to be the top of my stand. It's going to be a total of 9.5 inches square, but I'm going to add 1.5 inches on all four sides right here, and I'm going to break them down 90 degrees. And then what I'll do is these will be the legs. I'll make 4 of those. It'll have a bend in the middle, a break in the middle. And those are right in here is what's going to weld to these right here out at an angle. So let's get a pattern made for this and see what we can do with it. I also wanted to add, the reason I make patterns for everything is, number one, if you mess up a paper pattern, you can always throw it away. You don't have to throw away any good aluminum. So you can just start over the paper pattern. And number two, if I make a second one, I'll have the patterns there. I won't even need to break out my tape measure or anything. So that's why I use the paper patterns all the time for everything. Okay, there's our pattern drawn out. So I'll go ahead and cut it all out. And then I will break these 90 degrees. And you'll notice I put BTW right here. That's just my code of me knowing what to do. That means break this way. Okay, all of them needs to be broke this way. Now there is some instances where I'll have a pattern where when I lay it out, I'll have one that's break this way, and I'll have another break that maybe break the other way. So on those, I will put BOW, break other way. That's just a code for me to know what I need to do. People use different ways of doing it, but I'm going to get this cut out now and put it in the sheet metal brake and get these broke up and go from there. All right, we're going to go ahead and make our pattern for the legs, which I'll only have to make one pattern, and that's it, because it'll be used for all 4 legs, so it'll be good. So let's go ahead and draw that one out. Let's see, I was going to make them 4 inches at the top. It'll have a break in the middle at 2 inches, and then the bottom will be tapered. It'll be 3 inches, so these will taper down to it. So we're 13 3/4 total. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 13 3/4 and strike a line. Let's make a line all the way across on that. There we go. So we'll just measure over 4 inches. Actually, I'm going to make a mark at 2 inches also. Okay, then what I'll do, I've already squared this line up. I'll make a mark at 2 inches right there. Okay, and since this is going to be narrow, this is 4 inches. Okay, this is going to be 3 inches at the bottom. That's why I made my 2 inch mark at the bottom also, because I'll need to come out half of 3 inches from my 2 inch line. So 1.5 inches times 1.5 inches would be 3. So we'll come out 1.5 inches here. And 1.5 inches on the other side. Now what I'll do is I'll strike a line from my 4 inch mark to this mark, and then from my corner right here to this mark. And that's where I cut it out. And my 2 inch line here will be the one that I will have my break, where I will break it. So let me get those marked out, cut out, Then we'll have both our patterns made. All right, I had to change something up a little bit on the legs. As you can see, here's my original that I made right here. I had to make it wider. I'll tell you why. I'm gonna put some 1-inch flared holes right in here. And the tool that I have to do that is right here. I cannot put these holes in until after I put the 90-degree brake in it. So I wouldn't be able to get it in my sheet metal brake. If I use this on here, you can see this was gonna hit my brake. So I had to make all of it wider. So now after I get it broken to 90, I'll be able to put this on there and put all my holes in it. So that's why I had to change that up, but you know, that's why I mentioned using everything as a paper pattern instead of, you know, cutting something out of aluminum and realize it's not gonna work. So all it wasted was paper. All right, so now I know to get the right measurement, I'll need to cut on the inside of my black line here. If I cut on the outside, it'd be just a little bit bigger, the thickness of the Sharpie, but it still wouldn't be the end of the world. It'd still be just fine. So I try to concentrate on the inside of the black Sharpie there. And we'll cut everything out, put it in the sheet metal brake, and then we can start putting our holes in it. All right, as you see, I got all the pieces cut out. Now what I'm gonna do next is take my handy dandy 90-degree grinder with my Rolock Scotch-Brite disc on it, and I'm gonna clean all the edges up, around the corners a little bit, make sure there's nothing sharp, and then I'll go ahead and throw them in the sheet metal brake. What I'll do here first, I'll clean all these up right here with the Scotch-Brite pad. I'm gonna go ahead and drill my holes right here for my hole punch. I'll go ahead and get that done too. These are required to have, one didn't mark right there. These are required to have 1/2-inch holes. That's what this hole punch is. It's a 1/2-inch bolt. So I gotta have 1/2-inch holes to put the hole punch in it. Anyway, let's get all these cleaned up. Got this little hole punch here. It keeps me from having to drill an 1/8-inch pilot hole. This is I have an 1/8 inch in this right here. Pretty handy to have. You can punch leather with it or whatever. I use it on aluminum sheet metal. All right, so I'll drill all these little holes out that I punched. I'll drill them out to 1/2 inch and clean up the holes, and then I'll be ready to put this in the sheet metal brake, all of these, and then I'll be ready to flare the holes in them. Cut and flare those. Actually, it's the flaring tool will cut the 1-inch hole and flare it all at the same time. Something funny happened a minute ago. I went inside and I was playing with my dogs, and my wireless mic here hit the floor. One of my dogs grabbed it, took off out the doggy door out back. You should have seen me running after him. I didn't think I was ever going to get it back, but it's a little dirty, but it's okay. Anyway, I got all 24 of these holes drilled. So now I'm going to clean all the holes up and get ready to put these things in the sheet metal brake, like I said, get them broke up. And we'll get some holes flared in them, once again, like I said, and go from there. Little NASCAR days fabrication tool right there. Little deburn tool. I'm getting ready to punch these holes to 1 inch with a flare. I have this 1 inch punch right here and this flaring tool right here. I will sandwich my work in between here and just basically squeeze it together. And what I need to pay attention to whenever I'm using these is I need to know which way I want the flare to go. Do I want it to go in? Do I want it to go out? In this case here, this is the outside, and I want it to flare out. So I'm going to take this flare and put it on the inside like that, and put the other one over here. And I'll put it in my arbor press and push down on it, and it'll punch that 1 inch hole and also flare it. So let's get to it. All right, we have 24 of these bad boys to do. I'm gonna put my bolt down through here so it lines up, it keeps it lined up and centered up. I want my flare out. That there. And this is 80 thousandths thick, so it's pretty thick. So I gotta use a little cheater bar with my press. I do have a 1 inch rotor-broach hole saw that I could have just drilled them all out to 1 inch. Then I could have punched them. But at the time, I did not think of how thick I was dealing with here. So let's do this here. Pretty thick stuff. There we go. Now we'll push on down to flare it. That's how we do it. Now, there's our flared hole out. Then I'll go in here later and I'll clean all this up right here to get all the to deburr it. And it's all sharp right now, so we'll clean all that up. And always got to remember, my piece sticks in here. Can't forget to get those out. Just let it fall out, you know. Yeah, there's my 1 inch hole. All right, 23 more to go. A lot of times I'll use an impact wrench. I'll put a nut on this end here, hold it with a 3/4 wrench, and I'll put an impact wrench on this side, and it'll actually punch the hole and flare it for you. I just happen to have this arbor press here to make it a little bit easier. Okay, you get the idea. That's what it'll look like when it's done. After I clean them all up, it'll be nice, ready to go. So let me finish the rest of these up, and we'll get ready to figure out where we're going to tack these on at. Then I'll have to make a tray. I'm going to make a tray in the middle of it all. So you'll see that in a little bit. Well, I ended up taking my old torch here and heated all these up just a little bit, enough where I could still grab onto them and hold them. And I tell you what, it made punching those holes a whole lot quicker. Broke up some of those chemicals in that aluminum there. A little bit chilly here in Kentucky. All right, it's time to do some welding. Time to tack these on. I've got 2 of the legs clamped on, and the base is going to be wider than the top. So what I did, I took a little piece of aluminum and broke it in my brake to get the angle that I wanted. I'll get one of them like that, and whenever I do the rest of them, I will set this on there and get it all close. Now, I left the legs a little bit long because this is 14 inches tall. I'm gonna make it about 13 inches. So I'll have to cut these off and square everything up. Be the last thing I do. So, all right, what I've got here, I'm gonna weld with, I've got a Miller 200 TIG arc welder combo, I think it is. It's more for the hobbyist. It's not, you know, industrial type or nothing, but it's perfect for what I need. Okay, we're welding aluminum. We've got it set on AC for aluminum. Of course, DC would be for steel. So we have it on aluminum, AC. I will be using a 3/32 tungsten. I use a green tungsten for aluminum. I'll use a red tungsten for steel. I'll be using a green tungsten. I've got it sharpened to a point, but it will ball up for aluminum, and you don't have to have it sticking out of the cup for aluminum. Now, steel, you want that nice and sharp and sticking out just a little bit, but we're going to have, it'll ball up on the end. I'm going to use 3/32 rod. So we're going to get these tacked on, get it all squared up. Try to finish this thing up today. Since it is just a little bit chilly today, it's not too bad in the shop now, but I'm going to go ahead and take the torch and heat everything up just a little bit. You don't have to, but it does help some. Heat it up a little bit, and it'll weld a little bit quicker, a little bit easier for you. And a lot of you may see that I do not have a ground hooked up to it. You're like, okay, where's the ground? How's he doing that? But like I've said in the past, I've got a piece of aluminum welded to some aluminum sheet right here, and that's where I put my ground at. That way there I don't have to have it on my work. Sometimes it'll tip my work over, or it's hard to find a place to ground. So that's how I do it. As long as this is touching good aluminum down here, we're good to go. Went ahead and made a tray, a support tray, plus something to hold tools on. I've got that all centered up. I'm going to get ready to tack it in and go ahead and start welding this whole thing up. And then whenever I'm done, I'm going to put about a 3-inch hole right in here. I do not have a 3-inch hole saw, so I'm going to mark it out and probably cut it with an air saw. And that way there, they put their bike on there, and I guess they have that hole in there, what, to change oil in them? So they can drain the oil out maybe? Okay, but anyway, let's get this all welded up now. All right, it's all welded up now. And I told you, I was not the best welder. I know that. But you know what? It's not totally hideous looking, and it'll hold. That's all that matters, right? Like I said before, I would like to see y'all's welds, where you got the old stack of dimes going on your aluminum tigging. But I'm happy with it. It's not going anywhere. So put that hole in the top of it. All right, I've decided I'm going to put a 4-inch hole in this. And like I say, I don't have a 4-inch hole saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill a hole in a piece of paint stick. And I'm going to mark out half of 4, of course, which is 2. And make a mark right here on my paint stick. And drill a hole right there. All right, so then what I'll do, I will measure the center of the top of this. Got the center. So what I'll do here is I'll make a punch mark right in the center. And I'll take my paint stick. I'll stick my punch in here like that and just hold it down. And I'll take my Sharpie, make a circle. There we go. Now, I've got me a perfect 4-inch circle right in the middle. Yep. I'll probably drill a 1/2-inch hole right here, something to start my air saw in, and I'll air saw it out and then clean it all up. Well, that'll do it for this one. I had a lot of fun making the MX stand. Just got to add some plastic to the top of it and pop rivet it on, and it should be good to go. All you welder guys out there, let me know if you saw any mistakes that I was making while welding. I'm here to learn more. I enjoy doing it, and if I need your input, you know what I mean? Leave me some comments down there and let me know what you think, how you do it, what your settings are, whatever. So anyway, if you don't mind, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, because my next video is going to be this roll around workbench that I've already started on. Of course, it's upside down right now, but I'm going to make it in my next video step by step. Have a lot of fun making it. I need one for my shop anyway. That'll be it. Y'all have a great day. Bye.